I found it, I think, purely by either just like the characters, people showing off their art under like a hashtag, or it was like passed around, and then I think I might also saw like one of the updates somewhere. So the system works, you guys. It works. So.
You post your stuff and people will find it.
Create it and they will come.
And you build it and they will come. Muppets in Space.
It's Field of Dreams.
Is that called Muppets in Space? I'm gonna have to like
Gosh, Brent!
Speaking
nonsense.
Come on, man. I watched both those movies, and even I know which one it's from.
I never watched Muppets.
Muppets from Space. You didn't watch Muppets.
I remember the
Hey!
so well. How sad Gonzo was.
Gonzo was so sad. He has it open because Gonzo doesn't know what kind of an animal he is, and it opens with him having a nightmare about not being led onto the ark in the flood by Noah.
Sad.
He's like, I don't know what you are, you freak. Die in a flood, Gonzo.
Wow!
Yeah, it's fucking dark. And then he wakes up and he's like, I don't know where I came from. And it turns out he's an alien.
You're always an animal in my heart, Gonzo.
Muppets in Space. Muppets from Space.
I remember it specifically for the ending, where all the big dance party on the beach.
It was the first time I heard that song.
Yeah, same. So I was like, what is this?
I can't believe Muppets from Space invented the dance number roll credits.
The bad guy was like Jeffrey Tambor played like a secret agent, and he had like a big bear Muppet sidekick.
Yeah. And they were sneaking into like the secret compound and everything. Just
why are you linking me? Space, it's not as deep as you think.
But anyway, we're not talking about Muppets in Space this week.
But we are.
We're not?
No, we're not.
This isn't the Muppet.
Not on this episode. This is not the Muppets in Space episode of Speech Bubbles. This is the Hiatus and Self-Care episode. Welcome to Speech Bubbles. It's a webcomic podcast about making those things. My name is Brent, and I do the Webcomic Paradise.
My name is Amber, and I do the webcomic Backlash.
And my name's Jeff. I do the webcomic Farm. Why?
And sometimes you just go for 3 minutes about Muppets in Space, because sometimes you just hit record and hope that it like bleeds naturally into a thing. And sometimes you have to wrench that thing in like a really bad and not very good segue. But like I said, today we're talking about hiatuses and self-care. Hiatuses, of course, being a term that strikes fear in the hearts of webcomic authors and audiences alike. If you are not familiar with the term, I can't imagine why you wouldn't be. Hiatus is basically a fancy word for I'm taking a break. Shows do it, bands do it, webcomics do it. Self-care, on the other hand, is more of a specificity of hiatuses in that like sometimes you need them to take care of yourself so that you don't burn out and become a husk of your former self. Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about your personal experiences with hiatuses?
Okay, well, I guess I'll go first. I feel like I've had a lot of...
I was about to say, both of you, I think, have pretty good hiatus experiences, especially Amber currently. I think I've said so on the podcast. I've rarely taken breaks longer than like maybe 3 weeks or something, or a month. So I'm gonna sit this one out. But Jeff, tell us about your hiatus experiences.
Well, if you've been following my comics since the start, you probably already know. And firstly, I would just like to say I am so sorry. But I've been known to take quite a bit more hiatuses than I think would have been nice to take. I mean, like, well, one of them was out of my hands, but I did have a few hiatuses where I essentially I didn't have stuff ready. I was not feeling up to it, and I just had to halt the brakes for a bit, work things out, and life was just in a constant mess.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was probably my most infamous of hiatuses, and that was when I lost everything.
Yeah.
Well, at least all my current work that I was doing on my buffer, which was also during, I think, not quite a hiatus, but like it was built from a hiatus. So I lost all that work, and I only had what was saved left, and I had to build from the ground up. And that point, I took I know it was in like April or May is when I stopped, because by the time I came back home, that's when I found my computer wasn't working. So I think I didn't pick back up until October last year, I believe it was. So I took like a good several months, just like half a year, just not
to like bring yourself back up from that.
Yeah, it was a long period of time. Eventually, though, I did get back on my feet, but it was also a good time for me. I'm actually gonna say that this also kind of went into the self-care thing a little bit, because I was really stressed out after that, and I clearly could not just keep uploading. So I definitely needed the hiatus, because I was just torn and destroyed. Because I'm like, no, everything's gone. I can't do this comic anymore. Like, and of course, after I come down from being upset, I'm like, oh, all right, okay, let's kick myself in the butt. Let's get back into it. And that actually was probably the best thing to ever happen to me, believe it or not, because I feel like in that time, I learned to write some things a little tighter, work things out better for my actual story. And I also came with, I think, better layouts for all the pages. Because some of them were just like, well, now that I look at it, this is not the best looking thing, because I still had some old screen caps from stuff. Thankfully, I uploaded a lot of different like whips here and there, so I was able to pull back what was not good and fix it. So that's my personal experience with it. What about you, Amber?
Well, I have taken like breaks every once in a while. I'm kind of bad at like letting, like, just kind of missing updates every once in a while. I try not to, but sometimes it's like, this is just not happening, or oh, life comes at you fast, I don't have time to do my update.
Yeah.
Which is when not having a buffer kind of blows up in your own face.
Yeah, that happened to me this past week. I couldn't update Paradise on Monday because or on Tuesday, because I just straight up did not have the energy to do the page before it had to go up, and we missed a day. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take time, and that's take time for yourself and stuff. But my hiatus is usually I take one. I know, like, every time I finish a chapter, I will take. Usually the hiatus isn't because like, oh, I need to like take care of myself, I've been working too hard, or what have you. Usually it's just I need to finish hammering out the script for the next chapter and then getting like the page layouts done so that I can start doing consistent updates again. Like, so I just take like a few weeks to do that, and then I'll come back, and it's not like I'm gone forever, like indefinite hiatus. It's just I just need time to get this next one going, and then we'll be back to regular programming. It's kind of like when you're like TV shows have their season finales, and then you have to wait like another year for the next season to come out. It's like that. It's just, or
sometimes mid-season finale too.
Yeah, like it's just wait. You just have to wait a little bit. It'll come back eventually. It hasn't been canceled because I'm everything. I'm the producer and the director, and I'm the company that's airing it too. So like I'm the one who just.
It's like a really complicated puppet show.
It's only canceled when I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Ghost, I'm gonna haunt this until it's done.
Yes. Right now, I just finished my 4th chapter, and thank you. After a lot of like thinking about it, I decided to take a longer break with the express purpose of giving myself like a break / vacation a little bit, because I recently, well, not recently, it's been 9 months, moved across the country to a new place that I've never been to before, and I was doing a lot of comic work and a lot of commissions to like keep myself alive, basically, to make rent and stuff, and I've been doing that for months, and it burnt me out really bad.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, okay, I finished this chapter. It's all nice and finished, and I'm excited for the next part of it, but I'm going to just sit on it and let it just sit there. It'll wait.
Let it breathe.
And I'm going to let it breathe, and then I'm going to take time for myself to, like, relax and, I don't know, like, it's like a vacation, but I'm also still doing commissions. So, just for like a few months. Like I'm planning, it's like actually a summer break, so we'll see what happens. I am planning on having like content come out, but it's not going to be like on a schedule or anything. It's just whenever I feel like it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's kind of. I'm currently on a hiatus, so this whole topic is very relevant.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think I've ever taken a hiatus longer than maybe like a month in between chapters or something. Once this current chapter of Paradise ends, I'm gonna have like a whole mess of miscellaneous content. I'm gonna put out a call for guest art from like mutuals and stuff, and I'm gonna do some character profiles and maybe a Q&A. We're getting down to that point where it's like a month away now before this chapter ends, so I'm gonna like really start setting it up in the next week or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't had to take like a super extended hiatus in ever. So, but I'm all about some self-care. I am all about treating yourself, and that's where my expertise is going to come in this episode. So,
teach us how to chill.
Jumping into questions from @Octopus with 3 S's. Should you plan for an inevitable hiatus beforehand, i.e. pre-made miscellaneous content, or is it better to leave open for recharge time? Is it hard to like sit down and chill? Do you have to fight the urge to work just a little bit instead of relaxing? And this next one, or the third part of their question, kind of bleeds into a second question we have from @JugenPuppet, which is, what is your favorite thing to do in break time? Read, write, draw, long walks, or like watch a movie or something? And then Jugum says, what are some things you guys like to do when relaxing? Everyone is different and always has that second hobby to recharge the brain. I love gardening. It helps me move my body after resting for hours for drawing and get myself some sunlight.
That's cute.
Yeah, so let's start from this first question, which is, what do you guys think? Pre-made miscellaneous content, better to leave open? Opinions?
I think that if you have the energy or time, then sure. But especially if you have that, like, if it's in between a chapter, I think then yeah, why not? If it's fun and you have the time and energy for it, why not? But otherwise, I think you should probably, in my experience, I think you should probably spend some time recharging your batteries.
Oh yeah, shit! I didn't even think about this in the terms of it being like a in the middle of something hiatus. Like, oh, I gotta take a break, and you're in like the middle of a chapter, and if you update with like bonus content in the middle of the chapter, like that can be fun for like, I guess that could be fun for like readers who are reading week to week, but like, I don't know, that can be really, really strange and really jarring if you're reading through the archives. I know we have a question further down about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how Jeff said, if you have time for it and you have time to make something as like a placeholder, that's fine. You can even like maybe reach out to some mutuals, be like, hey, would you want to do like a piece of guest art for me to tie it over while I'm dealing with this other thing? Like, I come from a place of I don't even plan to have buffers done. So I definitely don't have like after chapter content, like hiatus material ready. And that'll just come whenever it comes.
Yeah.
I definitely just kind of, my focus is usually like recharge, take it kind of easy because you've probably been working really hard. And
your bonus stuff should be like fun. It shouldn't be like, it should just be like fun stuff that like, because you had like the time and energy to do it.
It's not necessary.
It's not like, you don't have to. I mean, and like if you're taking a break, if you're taking a hiatus, like people know what that means, and like you don't have to give them content because the hiatus means a break in content. You know?
Yeah.
I'm outie. Watch this space. Is it hard to like sit down and chill? Do you have to fight the urge to the urge?
The urge?
The word.
You have to fight the urge to work just a little bit instead of relaxing. And
I don't have that problem at all.
I do have that problem, actually.
I also have that problem.
Oh, I'm the weird one.
Well, it depends.
You're the worst one.
If it's a break that I need because I couldn't get the page done or something, that's different. If it's like in self-imposed hiatuses post chapter, right? When I'm like, I'm gonna take 3 weeks to a month off in between this chapter, there are definitely times during that like break where I'm like, I really want to be working on my like comic actually, and like sometimes I know that like if I try and work on stuff, it's not gonna come out as good as it can. But it's like it does after once you get really used to updating twice a week, and once you're not doing that, it feels like a goddamn eternity not updating.
Yeah.
I'm just a workaholic by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And
You're crazy, Jeff.
I know. I've actually, that's been my life for the past like few weeks now. I've just been working and actually not letting myself relax, which is why I've also been like under a lot of stress.
I'm feeling that right now. Is that time
So
of the year?
Yeah. And I'm just, it's just because I had so much work on my plate. And on top of that, I also had my webcomic, which I wanted to do, but I also had like a bunch of paid stuff I needed to do too.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like not really had the time to like sit down. I bought like a new game and everything, thinking I'll use this for my relaxing time. I haven't touched it since I bought it really, and I haven't been watching any. I've been watching just a few handfuls short shows and things like that. I don't relax. I don't relax when I need to work. So I do fight that urge, and I probably should relax more, but that's doesn't feel like it's right now.
I'm very much of the mindset of like you will produce better work if you let yourself decompress.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially if you're like just running 100 miles an hour for a very long extended period of time.
Absolutely true.
You're gonna really burn yourself out, and like and this is also like it kind of extends to the like the weird glorification of doing like all-nighters.
Mm-hmm.
Like if like your work will be better if you just like stop and let yourself go to sleep, or like if you just take an hour break to just like do something else, you'll come back with like a fresh mind and you'll be rested and you'll be ready to like continue your workflow. So I guess maybe that's why I don't have a hard time just like relaxing. I mean, I get like really anxious sometimes, like, oh, I'm not doing something that I need to get done, but like I can't help that. Like usually it's like there's no way that this thing is going to happen, so I try to not like beat myself up about it. I'm just like, okay, I'll just go do something else. Just don't think about that. Just do something else. You can't help it. There's no reason to worry.
Yeah, sometimes it's like looking at yourself and being like, if I work right now, it's gonna be bad. And we need to accept that and spend our time doing something else.
And knowing yourself.
I should clarify. I do know how to relax now and then.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I don't like always spend that time doing something fun. I just like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll just walk away for like 30 minutes and just look at something else, just stretch and maybe
and that's good.
Mindset. I mean, what you brought up before is like, oh, I'm not gonna get this done. I should just step away from it for now. That was me with the last update, because I was working late until 2 a.m. and I'm like, I want to post this, but I know I'm gonna hate it in the morning.
Yeah.
Just go to sleep and look at it again later.
So if you have, Jeff, me and you have been on like really similar work schedules. I got that like layout done for Tuesday's page on Monday, and I like took a long hard look at it, and I was like, if I try and line this now, it's going to look like garbage, and I'm going to hate it. And I like saved it, and I lined it yesterday, and it came out all right. And I'm gonna put colors on it today. And it's like sometimes it is like stretching out that work time and taking a look at it and being like, what needs to be redone? What can be like so you get tunnel vision, and you see walls basically, and you're just like, I can't make this any better than it is. Just fucking sleep on it for a day or two. Come back with
that song,
fresh eyes.
Yeah.
I do have some friends who have a hard time with like relaxing at all. Like they feel like they need to be working all the time and like they can't take time for themselves. And I'm just watching them and I'm like, it's kind of scary because I'm like, you're so like they're really talented and you know it's like they're very hardworking and it's really admirable. But I'm like, you're not gonna have a long career if you keep burning the candle.
Yeah,
at both
I was just
ends.
gonna say you can't keep burning the candle at both ends.
You gotta let yourself chill and relax so that you can like live a long life and tell a lot of stories, you know?
Yeah. God, so, especially like, since there's so much going around about like artists like hurting themselves and like fucking dying due to like stressful conditions and overworking themselves. It doesn't help that the like general market for art jobs and stuff is like 1,000,000% more competitive than it was 20 years ago. Holy shit! But that's not what we're talking about. Yeah. What is, to answer this, the third part of Octopus's question and part of Jukum Puppet's question, what are your guys' favorite things to do in your break time?
Video games is mine. I like to, I'm kind of a completionist, so I like to just sit down. I just like to sit down and just, it's really like relaxing for me to just like grind out like getting trophies in video games.
It's beautiful and it's kind of scary.
It's weird. I know, it's so weird.
I completely understand. I just don't have as much of the willpower these days. I want to.
I don't video games. It's actually something like anytime I make like a new like online friend or something and they kind of like they realize they can't really talk to me about video games, I can feel it like, oh no, I've lost this like bridge of like nerd communication. But you know, some people it's whatever, but like I think the last video game I played was like Lisa, which was in December, and that game is like 2 years old. And then Pokemon. I like dumb RPGs sometimes, but like my video game experience is like once every 6 months I lose like a week and a half to a video game, and then that's it. I don't video games very hard. I usually just rapidly consume like. I'm probably this summer after this chapter ends, I'm going to like burn through a whole chunk of my to read pile and like watch some animes and shit that I've been like sitting on watching for eventually, and I'll probably go into like a whirlwind of just consuming media for like a minute, and also drawing dumb shit that doesn't need anything. That's not related to comics.
That's something that I've actually been trying to get back into doing because like I've drawn so much just for like work, quote unquote, like just work, like I have to draw this, that I have kind of forgotten how to draw for fun and for myself. I've forgotten how to draw just dumb stuff. So I'm currently like trying to get back into doing that because I used to do that a lot and I just don't anymore. So like it's like video games, I try to draw something stupid, I watch bad movies.
I kind of like to do almost all the things that Octopus brought up. I like to read things. I like to just absorb new stuff, and I like writing. Actually, I enjoy like writing my comic, which I know it's like you're still technically working on your comic. It's like no, it's downtime for me because I just enjoy it. So that's it's like saying like you're just like drawing, you know, random stuff, even though you draw for work all the time. But
different.
I also like I like playing tabletop games.
Yeah.
I like escaping into another world and pretending to be somebody else for a bit, or running players as they escape into another world. You know, that's equally just as a good chunk of work to do. It's something else. I think,
but it's different. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's not comics, then I can relax and like, do something else.
I've gotten into the habit of taking a walk every day because of actually Pokemon Go. I'm like the only person who still plays that game, I guess. But like, it gets me out of the house, and it's like good for me. Like I go and I take like an hour-long walk, and I just go walk around the parks and stuff, and it's very good for me. I think I'm starting to get freckles again. It's kind of weird. But it's like with I feel like it's really important to, if you draw for a living, you need to have a hobby that isn't drawing.
Yeah.
Which for me, like that's like mostly what video games is, because it's like when I'm playing a video game, I cannot be drawing at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas like I can watch a TV show and draw at the same time. I can watch movies. I can like listen to things, but I can't, like, I have to have a hobby that takes me completely away from the drawing so that I don't just do that all the time.
Yeah.
We kind of were talking about this a little bit before, but like Brett and I, we like to like listen to things like podcasts and stuff. And for me, I do that almost all the time. So like I can't just do that for fun.
Yeah.
That's work.
Drawing and everything.
Yeah, I can't put on a podcast and like not. Like if I'm putting on a podcast, it's because I need something to take my mind off like a menial task, like cleaning the house or lining a page.
Cooking.
It's not for fun.
It's not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh.
It is to help eat up time.
Mm. Also, you get to do two things at once. That's
Yeah.
what I call multitasking.
Multitasking.
Hey.
That's like me with movies. Like I'll watch a movie while working, and I'm like, I'm not watching this movie for fun. I'm watching it so that I can get this off of my like to watch list.
How do you do it?
If I had like a second monitor, I would probably.
That's what
watch
I my desk is in the living.
Yeah. I can't. I don't have a good work setup that would allow me to watch shows and work at the same time. If I did, I might have not stopped at Once Upon a Time, like at the end of season 3. I might have like continued through that bullshit.
Well, then it's for the best, I think.
Ultimately, it's ultimately for the greater good.
Oh, it's me. Okay, so I was like, who read the question? All right. So this next question is from @thezombiedogs. For each of you, do you have a go-to show, game, or comic you like to reconsume to recharge, or do you try to only start new media during downtime?
Man, my thing is like constantly saying like I want to give this a reread or a rewatch and never doing that.
Yeah.
Because there's so much fucking out there. I think the only things I rewatch like consistently is I've probably seen like every Monster Factory video at least 2 or 3 times. Some of them 4 or 5 times. I think that's specific. I've rewatched some episodes of Carboys to do fan art, but like I've seen Monster Factory is something actually in terms of recharging. Yeah, I will sometimes just kill an evening like rewatching Monster Factory videos, and like yeah. It's like a show, I guess.
Yeah.
A web series.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been like planning a rewatch of like Transformers Prime for like a million years. I've been meaning to reread Dorohedoro forever.
Yeah. My like I if I like want to just recharge, I usually will go back and replay games from like my childhood. So my ones to go to, it's like I'll replay Shadow of the Colossus, I'll replay Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I'll replay Mega Man Legends, I'll replay Legend of Mana. Those are my like games that I'll go back and just like replay. I've replayed those games way too many times probably. Or I'll start a new game on Skyrim, even though I have I've thoroughly beaten Skyrim. But
oh no, wait, yeah, that's right, you have.
I have my platinum on that game. It took me a very long time, but I got it, and it's still just a fun downtime game that it's just consistently fun. That's kind of I've probably rewatched Dragon Ball Z more times than I'd care to admit. Yeah.
I guess for me, I kind of do a little bit of both. Like for some stories, like say like my Bard story, I kind of reconsume a lot of media, as well as new media. Like I think I've rewatched this one movie that has Oscar Isaac in it. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called Inside Llewyn Davis. And it's essentially about like an indie folk musician who's just having a real hard time. It's not a happy movie. But,
for research purposes, though.
For research purposes, though, I've watched it many times just to kind of get that tone and feel. Whereas, like, I'm also always absorbing like new lore and monsters because it's also a supernatural story. Whereas, like, maybe something for like Firearm, I'm always absorbing new stuff. I'm constantly on the hunt for like new stuff related in like westerns or sci-fi or superpowers. Although I think I've replayed the Infamous series a lot. That's kind of a big influence on some of the powers.
You said that yesterday, and I was just like, oh,
yeah,
I can see it.
Yeah. also trying to like just try and like dip into new things with it mostly because I'm always trying to find new ideas and new things to kind of work around into or just take inspiration from because I'm just trying to build this very massive world with it. Whereas Alan's story is more just in our world with supernatural stuff going on. So it's like, I just need to know what supernatural stuff to toss in here.
I do kind of tend to like rewatch stuff I've already seen or like watch things that I know are going to be good because I have a hard time currently like taking chances on new shows.
Yeah.
And like movies and stuff because I'm like, I've been burned too many times. Anyone can make anything and it doesn't have to be good. Like,
and there's so many things now that are just like part of the reason like I stopped doing print comics as much as I was like the whole like maybe last year or so I did like I went to the comic shop like a whole bunch, and part of the reason I stopped going was like I kept getting like taking chances on like new stuff that looked cool and just being like, I feel like I've read this story like a million times. Like it's just not just I get and it's easier to go to stuff that you know is gonna be good.
Yeah.
I've also just been disappointed a lot the past couple of years.
Yeah.
A lot of different mediums. Just
with comics, I actually kind of have to if I want to reread a comic, I kind of have to sit on it. I have to like give it a couple years before I reread it because I want to like not remember it perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, I can't just like sit and read and reread a comic, but I can sit and watch and rewatch movies. So
I used to do this with One Piece a lot as a kid because I have so many of these books, these One Piece Tongomon volumes. I would just like be like, I want to reread the Luffy and an L fight, and I would just like pick the volume out that had the fight in it and just read the fight. And I would like, but I would do that with like whatever moments. It's like, I want to read Chopper's sad ass flashback, and I would pick the volume up and I would read it. And like I wouldn't reread it wholesale, but I would be like pick up a random volume and like reread it for a scene, or like pick up like start reading through a scene and maybe just read through like 3 of them or something in a row.
Yeah, I did that with Alabasta. Every single crocodile scene. I've read so many times, just over and over again. Yeah. I always think it's important to start new media, but also sometimes you just gotta go back to what you know. Like get that, like go to something like comfortable and just like easy to relax to.
Find that reason why you liked it again, and kind of it kind of can like really spur that want to like really get back into your comic and stuff too.
Yeah, stuff that like really has always inspired you. It's always good.
I will say this one thing because it wasn't really touched on here, and I don't know if it counts, but I actually like reconsume. It sounds a little silly now because like you obviously reconsume it a lot, but I reconsume music more to kind of regain that feeling during my recharge time.
Yeah.
Like I'll just sit down, not do anything sometimes, put on the playlist for a character, and just like remember why these songs fit.
Yeah, I do that too. I do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps you get like inspiration for them again.
Yeah, and plus sometimes you find something in the song, like, wait, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes! Immediately go write it down. But moving on from that, from @SleepyEsper, I've always struggled with continuing projects for an extended period of time. My current project, my own webcomic, has been running for almost 2 years now, but it feels as of recent I've been taking longer and longer breaks between updates. What helps you guys get excited and pumped up for your own stories again, especially if you're in exposition-heavy areas? Well, listening to music, like we just talked about.
I'm trying to remember like what kept, because like I think Paradise has just hit that moment where it's like we're kind of out of the exposition woods now, and I've said this like probably 3 or 4 times on Twitter. We're out of like the big exposition chunk on Paradise, and the next chapter especially is going to be really like plot stuff happening. And I'm trying to remember like in those beginning like first 2 or 3 chapters like where my head was at in terms of like getting through it.
I think I might have always. This probably sounds like bull crap, but it's true for me. Is that I've always just kind of had the long game in mind.
Yeah.
I mean, the exposition isn't fun. It's not fun. Exposition
Nobody likes
is fun
doing
to
the
write.
exposition.
It's like it's fun for your readers to read when it's done nicely and like they're like, oh, I understand more about this world now. I'm excited to learn more about it. But like it's not fun for like the writers and you as the artist to like do it because you're like, I already know all of this. I like know this back and front, like the back of my hand, like I know this. It's my world. But you kind of just have to keep your eye on the long game and be like, this is going to make my story better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is for the good of my story. I've always also, whenever I get to like, because I actually just got done with most of my exposition too. Like we're out of the introductory woods, and now it's just going to be kind of fun plot stuff. And like I knew that it was going to take a while to set up all of that exposition and like give the audience like enough so that they understand what's happening and this kind of world they're in. And it was just like, okay, but like once this scene is done, I get to do this other fun scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's always I always just look forward to the next part, and I actually kind of like I actually didn't mean to do this, but I'm realizing now as I'm talking about this that I actually would like I counteract each like exposition scene with something kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
or like just like kind of a different like scenario that has to do with it, but it also doesn't, to kind of like give myself a break.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So maybe just kind of like plan it accordingly that like you're gonna get to something really fun next.
Yeah, toss in like something fun for you
Mm-hmm.
as the writer and artist.
And like remember what you like, why you want to tell this story in the first place, and remember the things you're excited about is something I try and keep in mind.
You have to be the most excited for your own comic. You have to be your number one fan.
You're your own hype man.
Yep.
I guess you guys really touched on mostly what I do, so I don't really have anything to add there.
Well, also music is a big one, like what you said earlier. Like I have a lot of playlists for my stories and my characters, and like that will get me excited for like this world that I'm building or this story that I'm building up.
Yeah, I'm also getting in the habit of trying to find more music that does fit certain characters or certain scenes more, because then like rejuvenates it, makes me think about something new again in regards to that one thing that's old. I'm like, oh yes, right.
As far as this general, like getting pumped up to work on your own stories again, having other little story worlds you can live in as a break is really nice to have. I maybe have too many.
I was just gonna say, Brett, you have a lot of those.
I'm actually trying to cut down on them. I'm going. I think I'm gonna go through and like see how much I actually have for each one of them, and see which ones I can like maybe work on and get them to not be like freeloading and living in my head. But that's besides the point. Having little like side worlds you can live in that maybe aren't as pressing as your like your quote unquote like your main idea can be really refreshing to spend a couple of like some time on your downtime.
Yeah.
Another thing I've always found, like if I'm feeling kind of like about my story, saying it out loud to somebody always makes me excited. Like explaining like a scene or something that's coming up to somebody, like get yourself a confidant. It always makes me more excited, even if they've heard it before. Like talking about it makes me excited because I'm like, that's gonna be so freaking cool. Like it's gonna be awesome. Or like that joke is gonna be so funny. Like just talking about it, remembering like what are you building up for, like what are you finding things about your own story to be excited about.
Yeah.
I do have one last thing. I don't know how helpful it's going to be, but I found that it helped me in that if I've already been kind of working out some like dialogue or scripting some stuff, ideas out for chapters that are coming ahead of time, or even like a little bit later into the chapter I'm working on, if it's something that doesn't feel tight enough, or maybe I come up with a new angle for it, I kind of rewrite that part or add to it to make it more fun, and that kind of gets me excited for it. But I think that's more of me as a writer, so I don't know. It depends on what you have fun with, I guess. But that might help you, especially if it's with exposition stuff, like thinking about new ways to write exposition.
Yeah.
Not just like explaining it. like, oh, what's another way I can show this off or explain this?
Mhm.
Fun thing.
Yeah. From @Pashaw. Do you have a maximum amount of time you'll allow yourself to spend on a page each week? I draw the line at having dreams about Photoshop. Also, is there ever a point of no return for a hiatus comic? If it last updated in 2007, is it time to officially move on to the next project? Oh, and what's your opinion on leaving hiatus updates, holiday art, con announcements, etc., in the archives?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a
Isn't
good
it?
question.
Yeah, we kind of referenced it a little bit in the beginning. Let's take these one at a time. I don't know about like how long, like allowing it. I've really streamlined my process a whole bunch. That like, I mean, I know if I do a page from start to finish, it's gonna be my whole work day. Like, I'm not gonna have drawing energy for anything else. But I don't. Maybe it's lazy. I don't ever try and overwork a page. I know. I've been at this for a bit. I know when my page looks done, and I know when I can be like, "That's a finished page. Ship it. Send it off. It's good."
Yeah. I have. I've done a lot of pages, and I kind of have gotten to the point where I know how long it's going to take me to do a page. For this like last update, I did 10 pages in a week. I was doing like 2 pages every day. And like they're not the greatest pages, like because I was like, okay, so it takes me like if I work on a page from start to finish, and I don't like work super hard on it, like I don't try to make it look like my best comic I've ever done, it's gonna take me maybe 4 to 6 hours, depending on how many panels, and sometimes less because I work really fast for this.
Depends if you have those time-saving gradient backgrounds.
Yeah, woohoo! I find that my pages always do actually look better if I spread them out over the course of a few days, but I also am super impatient. I just want the story to get told. So I don't know. I know when my pages are done. I usually won't. I'm not very picky. I've gotten kind of over that. I'm not picky about like how long I'm gonna sit and like fiddle with something until it looks right. Usually like the first 2 or 3 lines I draw, that's it. That's it. I don't keep going over and over and over again.
Whereas for me,
oh Jeff,
I am very picky. I have to make sure the colors are just where I want them. The placement's all good, and make sure I'm not using too many gradients because I've been known to do that. Because I get tired and lazy and I'm not thinking like, no, you're dumb. Wait, think about it. So I don't have a maximum amount of time that I spend on each page because I don't think that way. I actually kind of get more stressed out if I think that like, oh god, I have to finish this in like 3 hours. Oh god, because that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Not with the amount of stuff I do in my pages, no. So I don't draw the line anymore. I work until it's done and hope that it looks good when it's done.
I was gonna say, like, especially if it's your first comic, if it's your first like big comic project you're planning on sharing with people, I think finding that line between like making it look perfect and making it look finished. I mean, yeah, just like I'm
not
sure
all gonna be perfect.
Everybody's probably heard that a million times by now, but it's like, do you want the story to be told or do you want it to be perfect but no one's gonna read it because you've been working on it for 84 years?
Like, do you want people to read your comic or do you want it to look really nice? Like perfect. Like, cause if you're fiddling with with the small details, it's never gonna get finished. So
that's why I'm very jealous of people.
Like some pages are gonna be weaker than others because you just gotta get it done.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you do a page and you're like, that's not one of my better ones, and you just queue it up for Tapastic, get them on the next one. I think my big strategy actually when I was like, and I still kind of hold to this when I was starting this was like, I find there's one panel. There has to be one panel on every page that I'm like, I really, really like that panel. That panel came out good. The rest of the page could be like really not good, could be really subpar, and but as long as I have one panel on a page that I'm really into, be it like color wise or how I drew it or whatever, I'm satisfied with that. Is there ever a point of no return for a hiatus comic? I'm wondering if this means from like a reader perspective or an artist perspective.
I feel like I don't know about this from a reader's perspective because I don't think I've ever read. I actually have had the fortune of never reading a webcomic that like went on indefinite hiatus and then like just never came back. Like I was into, you know. I like kind of missed those like shots. I guess I was lucky.
Yeah, that's kind of like early. Well, that's kind of like early webcomic stuff. I mean, who knows? Maybe in 5 years, a lot of the webcomics we're reading right now could be like not happening. But I think that was like a more like 5, 8, or I guess 2007, 10 years ago.
10 years ago? Yeah. 5 years ago, 2007. But I mean, from an artist perspective, I think that if let's see. So if you, as you keep writing and as you like get older and have more experience, the stories you come up with will just be better than the ones you had in 2007. So I think from an artist perspective, like if you had a comic that you were making in 2007 and you put it on hiatus and now it's the good year of 2017 and you're like, I want to keep making comics again, you're probably not going to want to pick up that old one because you have way better ideas now.
Yeah.
And that's not saying the ones that you're first selling, because of course it is. You need to get it out of the way, and like it's your first baby. Like it's gonna teach you a lot, and it's gonna be like pain and heartbreak, but also like really wonderful.
Yeah.
But like I think it would probably be best to just let that first one go, especially if it's been a really long time.
Yeah, if
like,
you haven't worked on something for years, like look at yourself and be like, why haven't I worked on this in years? Is it really because like I mean, is it because it was a bad idea, or is it because like I wasn't skilled enough as a storyteller to handle these raw materials? Because I definitely have. Yeah. I think we all have ideas where we're like, I really want to do this, but I know for a fact I am not skilled enough to take this on, and you put it off for a bit.
I'm thinking of like with I know everybody get ready to cringe with Emma's Pain Adventures. The first 2 stories on there that you can read, they're not finished. They're there so you can read them still, but those were like baby's first comics and they're not done. And he just moved on to the next one. Like, okay, this one's gonna be better, or oh, I have better ideas for this one. And then he made one of the best, like most successful webcomics of all time. So there you go.
I definitely think that if it's been a set amount of time, you should probably move on from it. Like if it's been like a year or 2, then maybe you could pick it back up, or maybe like touch it up and start again. I don't know. It depends how long you've been going for, but if it's been like 5, 10 years, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, I think anything more than like 2 or 3 years is like, I don't know, that would be my own personal metric. If I hadn't worked on something for like 3 years, I don't know if I would return to it.
If I see a lot of like people in like the comic game that are like, they started with webcomics and now they're like actually doing like real comics for like money and stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm putting that on indefinite hiatus, but it is my passion project. I will go back to it. I'm like, no, you won't. That was your first webcomic. You're not going back to that because you have way better ideas now.
Yeah.
Unless that was your only idea, but it's rarely the case.
Keep that in an archive and look back on it fondly. Remember the things you learned and move on. Don't hold yourself back. You don't have to finish everything. It's okay. And
what about stuff in your archives?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I touched on that a little bit. I think if it's like in between chapters, it's fine.
Yeah, that's where all of mine are. Mine are in between chapters. I don't
like leaving it in the middle of a scene.
Yeah. See, that's actually like I drew a holiday comic for Valentine's Day. It's currently May. And I'm going to upload that as a bonus content for this current chapter because I didn't want to upload it in the middle and like ruin the flow.
Right.
But I also thought it was like an interesting, like little funny world building comic. So I'm going to add that in there, but I specifically waited until I was done with the chapter because I didn't want to break up the flow.
But say, like as a reader going like week to week, like I know some comics who definitely do this where it's like you know, they have like holiday updates or like I'll be at this con or whatever. And as a reader, if I'm going week to week and I'm just reading a page a week, I'm like, okay, that's fine. There's just no comic this week. Good art, whatever. And you click back. As if you're reading through the archives of a webcomic as a new reader, it can especially depending on the kind of scene you've shoved it in the middle on, it can be like a stutter. You're just like, oh nope, thank you for pausing my experience. And
I think that there might be it might be better to just like with those kind of updates, maybe don't like actually make like an update in your comic, but like, hey, here's like a blog post, or hey, here's a Twitter update, like.
Now I can see
with the
like
same information.
I can see like no page this week. Here's some extra art or like a con announcement or whatever, and then like when you go to put the next page up, you take that art down and maybe put it up. You can maybe put it back up like in between chapters.
Yeah.
I don't know. I usually don't post that sort of thing because I don't want to break up my chapters at all.
And I mean, depending on what you're using, though, like Tapastic can notify your readers, give them an update post that isn't attached to your comic.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of thinking about maybe experimenting with it. I'm not sold on the idea yet, but like, you can create multiple stories on one account.
Yeah.
Maybe putting like extras in like a side little story thing. Just keep it there. So that's like you can just upload there and keep it there, and people can just check it out. But that means people have to go like subscribe and follow that one as well. So don't know.
I definitely like. I mean, if there's like a hiatus update or like something in the middle of a chapter, if it's like just like a one-time thing, I usually am like, oh, okay, like that was kind of a stutter, but yeah, whatever, this happened. I just click and we're on to the next page. But there are some comics that like have a really long, like continual, like hiatus update art in the middle of chapters, and it's just a lot of it.
Yeah.
And that gets kind of, I would probably delete them.
Mm-hmm.
But
just move them.
I mean, just move them out of like the weird, like obtuse place that you put them in.
Yeah. They've served their purpose.
Yeah. I've never actually thought about that. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's me again. Okay, so the next question from @_sushi_rolled_. What's the best time of the day / most convenient for you to work on your art? Are there any drawbacks or positives? Also, do you guys tend to take breaks while working, or do you just power through or marathon it and refuse to take breaks until it's finished? And our last part is, have you ever gone through a hiatus that has lasted for long periods of time, like weeks or months? Has it been difficult to recover from?
Which also ties a little bit into Minatrashi's question. Have you burned out from a lack of self-care? Any horror stories pertaining to this to share?
Let's do the first two questions first.
Yes.
I have a horror story, but let's save that.
So what is the best time of day / most convenient for you to work on your art? Usually as soon as possible. After waking up, usually within 3 hours of waking up. If I haven't like sit down and gotten myself into a work groove, it's going to be astronomically harder to wrench myself into one.
Yeah. I'd say the same, although like it's better for me to get started on work as early as I can in the day, but I also find that I'm more alive at night. So I tend to get the most I'm a vampire in real life. I don't go out. I stay till the night. That's just it. What about you, Amber?
This time of day for me right now, I don't like go. I don't have like a job outside of this, so I don't like have places to go usually. And I do live with 2 roommates who do go to like classes during the daytime. I find right now for me, if I don't get up and start working before like noon, then like my roommates will come back and I will have a really hard time focusing because then like there's people here.
Yeah.
you know. So it's kind of, I kind of need to like be in the zone for that before that happens. So I usually like get my work done in the like later morning and early afternoon, and then once it gets, I usually call it done by like 5 or 6 o'clock, and then I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna get any more like actual work done, so I'll do something else.
So you almost have like your own like hours that you set.
Yeah, I like actually have like work hours, kind of.
I'm not that disciplined.
Are there any drawbacks or positives? I know that the like positive of working in the middle of the night is that nobody's around to you. The drawback is that nighttime is when the bad feels come and you get real down on yourself because you need to go to sleep.
I was gonna say nighttime. If you totally wreck your sleep schedule and you end up if you do that for too much, you're gonna end up feeling like a garbage person.
Also, it like really messes up with your day if you're trying to get work done in the morning the next day and you can't wake up, or when you do wake up, you're just too tired and coffee doesn't help you. I'm not speaking from personal experience at all.
I do know some people, like I follow some comic artists who are working in the industry who work best with all-nighters, and I mean they've even said like, hey, like I'm not saying this works for everyone. I am just this specific kind of workaholic who really enjoys like working through the night. Like that's just how I get my work done most productively. I'm not advocating this as like something for everybody. And sometimes it is just like finding the time of day and schedule that works best for you that makes you the most productive. And then sometimes it is scrambling to take advantage of the free time you are given.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you tend to take breaks while working, or do you just power through and marathon it?
Both.
Yeah, both.
I guess it depends on the day and the deadline that I have. And like right now, after we're done, I'm getting straight to work.
Yeah, same.
But if it was like any other day and I was like mostly okay, then I'm like, I'm gonna take a break. Maybe I'll like check out something here and there. I'll go make myself a nice meal or whatever.
I can't. This is something I'm actually working on. Is I actually have a hard time taking breaks when I start a project. I've been working really hard to try to like be able to pace my pages out over the course of like 2 days because it looks better when I do that. But I kind of would like force myself to just sit in one place for 6 hours while I worked on my page and just wouldn't get up and I wouldn't do anything else. And like same with like commissions, like when I'm doing a commission, I'll just sit and I do that in one sitting because like if I like walk away, I'll like totally lose my like motivation and like any steam, and so I don't let myself do that. I'm trying to get better at like letting myself take breaks, especially because I've like started to kind of get like hand issues a little bit. I've never had hand problems before, but I like started getting like pain in my hand and I was like, it's starting. So I'm like trying to take it a little easier and remember to like stretch and take breaks and stuff.
Oh yeah, if my arm's hurting, I stop. I'm like, all right,
immediately.
We're not getting work done today. We're taking like a 2-day break. I'm sorry. I'm not risking this. This is my livelihood.
It's
right
all
here.
we got.
Yeah, that's all I have.
I usually try and like maybe like once every 2 hours or something, like stand up and walk around and move my legs a whole bunch. It usually coincides with the end of whatever podcast I'm listening to, which is good. I'll go down and get a snack, or I'll go down and like refill my water cup or something, and that usually gives me an excuse to like walk away from my desk momentarily. But I mean, I do typically try and like finish a thing in one session. Like if I do a page, like since I don't have a buffer right now, it's like Monday and Thursdays are my page work days, and that means I like if I have the layout done first, not fine, but like that's gonna be like what I do that day, and probably take me around like between 4 and 6 hours. That's gonna be all my drawing energy for that day. Although I will reward myself with dumb bullshit sketches, usually before and after.
Right.
All right, so this last one and the coinciding question from me to Trashy. Have you ever gone through a hiatus that has lasted for long periods of time? Has it been difficult to recover from? And then, have you ever experienced heavy burnout from lack of self-care?
Any horror stories?
With this current one, okay, so from working on my comic nonstop plus only doing 151 commissions in a few months.
Yeah, bud. Freelance life.
Woo! That was all I was doing, and I was not able to draw for myself and like do things for me, and it was kind of eating at my soul, and like I kind of was, it was kind of miserable. A few weeks ago, not a few weeks ago, like maybe 2 weeks ago ish, I like realized how close I was to finishing my comic chapter, and I was like, I just want to take a break now. Like, I just want to do like a summer break hiatus right now in the middle of this chapter, and just because I just didn't want to work on it. I was so burnt out on it and like just drawing for it that I was just like, I don't care. I don't care if it's a bad place to stop. I just want it. I just don't want to work on this anymore. Like, I need a break. I need a vacation. I haven't had one in a long time. And then I was like, that's gonna bother me. So I'll just blitz through these last 10 pages and just get that done and then take a break. But like, while I also, because I wasn't like taking care of myself and giving myself breaks, I did that. There's like a Askbox meme thing going around on Tumblr where it was, send me like which of my original characters you think is the most attractive, because it's funny. And I was just like, all right, that'll be funny. So I was doing that, and I was drawing the results, and while I was drawing the results, I kept having this thought of, I don't care about these characters. For like my own kids, characters.
That's a fucking scary thought.
It was so, and I kept having it, and it was so scary to me. I was like, I don't care about any of these characters. Like, I don't want them anymore. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, and I was like, I'm super burnt out. I need a break. I think I need a break. And so that's what like pushed, like that thought like was super spooky to me. And so I pushed myself to finish the chapter. Like, just I focused on that, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna like slowly learn to like draw for fun again and draw my kids, and like, you know, and like that was like really scary. So like that was the worst feeling, is like being like, I don't care about these things that I used to care a lot about. So.
But now that the chapter's done, you're on summer vacay. Can you imagine coming back in like August and like trying to do the last 10 pages of this chapter though?
Oh, I'd be like, why did I do that?
That would suck. That's something I just thought of now. I was like, could you imagine you would come back? I would like be like, I don't even want to do this. Like,
I don't want to do this
suck.
anymore. Yeah, like no way. Like I needed to have it be at like actual stopping point so that I can like just springboard into the next chapter once I get like everything settled and like get ready to go. Like after I'm done with my break and like my self-care, like in which I'm just going to be watching a lot of shows and doing commissions as I need to, and just slowly work on getting myself back to the like happy, positive, excited, energetic mindset that I was in.
I kind of experienced what you could have experienced a little bit when I lost all my work. And I had to get back to like my comic. I'm like, I didn't really want to work on it for a bit.
Like, I don't care about this anymore. I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it again.
I just had to get back, get excited about it. That was rough.
Those setbacks, freaking man. It can happen to you. Take care of yourself.
Back up your hard drive right now.
right
Dedicated
now.
Speech Bubbles fans will remember episode 2, Setbacks, where we talked about Jeff's trials and tribulations.
Yeah,
I think it was
episode
backstory.
If you don't mind me going next here, Brent.
Read out these thoughts.
I meant my experience.
Shit. No, I don't have very many experiences in terms of like horror stories and burnout. Not to brag, I feel like in general I'm pretty good at reading myself and knowing.
That's a good skill. That's a good skill to have.
I usually don't for like a bit. Like there's usually a period of time where I'm like, why is everything garbage right now? And then like usually like 2 weeks into that, I'm like, oh, it's because I'm having like a low period in my cycle, and I just fucking quit it and stop and chill out.
That's good.
But yeah, Jeff, share your horror stories.
I don't necessarily have so much a horror story. It's more like a conglomeration of like all my experiences that I've dealt with burnout.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, I've been in your spot, Amber, in that I just did not care about my characters.
It's the worst feeling.
It is.
It's the worst. You're like, I like dedicated so much of my life to this, and suddenly just like not caring. It's like a weird form of almost like self-loathing. It's weird and scary.
Yeah. So I've dealt with that, and I kind of already touched on my extended periods of hiatuses that I've had, but I remember whenever I would burn out really bad, which used to happen a lot, I would just not draw for weeks, and it was the most terrifying and kind of dark points in my years, because I wanted to draw stuff, but I couldn't. It was either I just couldn't, or I didn't feel like I would draw anything good. Nothing really turned out very good, so I was just very scared. But in that time, in all those times, I've kind of learned a couple things. Like for one, if I am having a really bad burnout time, or if I feel like I'm not drawing anything really good, I've learned that that's probably meaning at some point during that period, I'm due for an upgrade, a level up, because usually you're going to start trying to absorb new things, try new things out, and then it's the whole thing of I don't know if you guys heard of it, it's like the whole like connection between like your hand and your eye, like your eye will become better at seeing things, and then your hand has to catch up to it, but then sometimes your hand will like shoot past it, and then your eye has to catch up, and you're just feeling super good, you're on a high. And I've learned that means I'm going to be doing new things and I'm going to get better, so I kind of like try and think positively about it. And then the other thing is that I just don't think about it. I just step away, and I feel like in those moments when I recognize it, I just stop, I get up, I go do something else, and I just don't touch it. And usually those times I recover quicker, and I'm a little bit healthier in that recharge time, because if I'm not worrying about it, I'm not letting the fear that I let grow inside me from before kind of consume my every thought. I'm like, oh God, I'm not doing art good anymore. I should just quit. Oh
right.
God, oh God. So I've learned to recognize and control it a little bit.
You've ever seen Kiki's Delivery Service?
I have. That was my first Ghibli movie.
I feel like we've talked about that on this podcast before.
I know, but like that movie is so good for like that like it's such a good movie for like if you're going through burnout, go watch that movie. It's like that's like literally what she deals with. She deals with that like burnout. I always think of it. I'm so glad I like grew up on that movie.
Yeah,
it's good. But anyway, who wants to read the thoughts for?
I can read them thoughts if you want.
All right, not in that voice though, please.
All right. Well, panel mechanic will not come in today.
Gosh.
All right. So from Mita Trashy. Sorry. Their thoughts that they had prior to this question was, hiatus strikes fear mostly because the updates stop and people may forget. It's not easy to admit you need rest because that means production stops and you're unable to create even though you want to, but you're unable. It's scary to think people aren't going to remember me and will unfollow me if I don't hurry up and make more. But people will understand if burnouts happen or you need time to stop. There's also comparing yourself with those that seem to always update on time and really take time off, but you never know when that's going to happen, what's going on with other people and how they do their things, their updates and such. It's not as scary when you let people know you need rest.
Yes, this is super true.
Also, dang, Jeff, do you do audiobooks?
No.
That was a hell of a narration. I would listen to you read a book.
Wait, I can't tell if I'm being sarcastic.
I'm not being sarcastic at all. You had very good inflection during that whole paragraph.
I was trying not to stumble. But that's not the point. Anyway, moving on to the actual point. Yeah, like I do agree. I think that it's that whole thing like I was talking about before, the fear. Like you can't let it consume you. You gotta like just know it's good. It's good to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah, don't compare yourself to other people. And I have found that if you let people know what's going on, then they'll be really understanding. Like if I need to take a break or I need to miss an update, I'll be like, hey, so this is happening, or like, hey, I'm having a bad mental day, so this page isn't happening. Sorry, guys. And everyone's like, that's okay. It's just a webcomic. Please take care of yourself so that you can keep making more in the future.
Yeah.
People are usually really understanding. I think that, like, as with everything, like, negative experiences outweigh positive ones. So like you'll see artists getting like weird, like demanding readers, like, why are you missing updates? You should just stop updating altogether if you're not gonna make your if you're gonna keep being late. And it's just like, shh,
Yeah.
Don't think about those people because they don't matter. But don't compare yourself to other people because you're not them, and you're not making that comic. You're making your comic.
You also don't owe anyone anything.
Yep.
Something
You do it for free.
We do this for free. Yeah.
Take care of yourself, please.
Take care of yourself.
Sit-ups, stretch. Give your hands little stretches, like shake them out and all that, you know? Pinky push-ups.
I want to see y'all making comics well into your 90s.
Oh, also, don't forget to eat. That's something I do a lot.
Yeah, don't forget to eat.
Don't forget to freaking eat. Go eat food.
Don't be me.
I forget to eat.
I frequently feel like it's an inconvenience. I'm like, man, if I could just work straight like 11 hours today and not have to like break so I don't die, that would be nice. But
well, and I have a bad habit of like be working and I'll be like, I should eat breakfast. But if I get up and go eat breakfast, I'll lose my workflow. So I'll reward myself with basic needs when I finish the line art on this page. Like, what? What?
I'm gonna let
no!
You see, I do breakfast before I start working, and that's when I know I need to take my first break because I'm like, starving. It's time for lunch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I skip lunch a lot. Sorry.
It's okay. I skip breakfast. I skip breakfast every day.
I usually I do skip lunch a lot, but it's because like I wake up relatively late compared to most of working America. Yeah, so I do like breakfast, and then like by the time my family's ready for dinner, it's like that's the second meal. That's fine. But that's digression. That's all the questions we have, and we're running a little long. So Jeff, do you want to hit us with the webcomic of the week?
Oh well, boy, do I! Golly gee, have I got a comic for you guys? This is actually one I've been kind of meaning to read. I've had a little bit on my reading list, and I decided, you know what? I'm just going to read through it right now. And it is a comic called Undivine, except the un part is in brackets.
I've heard of this comic.
Oh, this is the one you talked to us about
yeah,
a minute ago. Yeah. We didn't record it, but you did talk to us about it.
Thing in your Twitter, but Ayme Sotuyo. I tried looking up pronunciations for this earlier because I did not want to butcher your name. But it's a very cute comic. I believe Ayme also goes by Twitter here. Coconut art. Cat coconut art.
Cute.
Such a cute music. But it's a very cute webcomic. Very nicely drawn. I am in love with the colors and the backgrounds. I think she does a lot of research on this fucking comic because the way the backgrounds look is very reminiscent of the actual place that it's supposed to kind of represent, which I believe is South America, from what I can tell in the architecture.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nicely detailed. I should probably get on to what the actual comic's about. The comic is about a boy who tries to work really hard but has a lot of problems in his life and decides to summon a freaking demon to help him out. And the demon is a very very fun character who really just likes messing around with Daniel, who's the main character. Esther and Daniel. She loves eating junk food, and she also acts a little bit inappropriate because she doesn't understand humans very well. And is always getting on poor Daniel's nerves, but is very curious and very interested in the world that Daniel's kind of in, and just wants to help him out. And he has a lot of trust issues with her, but it's a very cute little dynamic that they got going on. How about I read a little bit of the blurb, a little about blurb here to kind of get y'all up to speed.
Please do.
All right. Would you sell your soul for the chance to get revenge? After learning about a demon that can fulfill any desire, Daniel takes the opportunity to have everything go his way. No more insecurity, universal praise, and Rosa will finally know the embarrassment she has put on him through all the years. Or at least, that's the plan. What Daniel ends up with is the laziest, most uncouth demon possible. Esther guarantees Daniel the revenge he wants when she's not busy eating junk food on his bed. While dealing with a large demon that doesn't want to leave him alone is troublesome, it's not as bad as Daniel's sudden fits of throwing up blood everywhere. Undefined is classified as a dark fantasy comic that deals with revenge, morality, friendship, and monsters. And it is not really suitable for people under 14 for mild language, blood, violence, and plus some occasional non-sexual nudity.
All right.
You're right.
Yeah.
You sold me. I've been meaning to read this comic for a while.
I was gonna say I really love this. I really love this art style. I really love these colors.
Yeah. It's currently in its chapter 2. I don't think it's quite done with it yet, but it's been getting real interesting. These chapters are a little long, like close to like 50-ish pages a piece. But it's been so good so far. I love the framing.
Oh yeah, there's like a good 100 pages out.
Yeah,
that's a beefy webcomic.
I definitely recommend that you take a look at it, and maybe also follow Ayme on Twitter. She posts a lot. Actually, she posts a lot of pictures of just her characters alone. I don't know how she does it. She's clearly got her stuff worked out if she has the time to do all these little doodles everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Very much in love with her characters, and that makes me love them even more.
I like seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This week, read Undivine, and the un is in brackets. And also, make sure to take care of yourself and take breaks if you need them. That's your homework. That's your homework this week.
Take breaks.
Take breaks. I can maybe do that.
I think that's gonna be it for us this week on Speech Bubbles. Until next time, I've been Brent.
I've been Amber.
And I've been Jeff.
And we do this for free. Great, very good. Bravo, you two. Bravo.